Have a great weekend. Yeah. Joining me now, Andy McCarthy, former assistant U.S. attorney for the Southern District of New York, Fox News contributor. Andy, President Biden today was just sitting there, well, maybe not stone-faced, but not saying anything. Trouble is, his White House counsel put out that statement that you noted in your column in the New York Post today, talking about the documents in question were inadvertently misplaced. That's an admission that could get him into trouble. Andy, expound upon that.
Well, Dagan, when people are trusted, government officials are trusted with classified information, the condition on which you get access to it is that you promise to safekeep it. And for that reason, the criminal statutes that control the handling of classified information don't require a showing that you had an intention to hurt the government or sell us out to other foreign regimes when you mishandle documents. The standard is, did you handle them in a manner that was grossly negligent? So to say that the investigation by the president's lights will ultimately show that the documents were inadvertently misplaced is tantamount to saying that he was grossly negligent with them. So I think you can understand why they're not speaking much, because it doesn't seem like they advance the ball much for their own cause when they talk.
Andy, how do you think this goes? And I mentioned at the top of the show, Hillary Clinton just got off scot-free. And the expectation, I think it's not a far stretch to say the expectation from President Joe Biden would be to suffer no punishment. And yeah. Can you say that about President Trump? And I just wanted to raise the issue. This is from Mika Brzezinski over at MSNBC, was talking about that. You got very heated talking about, well, the Republicans are idiots and they don't understand the difference between Biden and Trump is Trump's willful intent. And she kept saying that over and over again.
Yeah, well, like I just said, willful intent doesn't really have anything to do with it. It's were you grossly negligent or not. But I think you really nail it, Dagan, by bringing up Mrs. Clinton, because I've heard in the last few days the obsession is to compare the Trump case and the Biden case. And I really think that, there are differences in degree, but if we're going to talk about in kind, they've essentially committed the same misconduct. To my mind, looking at this as a prosecutor, the important context here is that Mrs. Clinton committed a heinous offense and got off scot-free. Mm-hmm. So if you're the Justice Department, you're trying to show that Trump was uniquely awful in a way that can rationalize charging him, even though Mrs. Clinton got off with no charges. So I think in an investigation like that, you don't have any real margin for error. Everything's got to go right. You can't afford to have things go wrong. And then the next development you get is that the sitting president of the United States turns out to be apparently guilty of the same offense for which Trump is also under investigation. I don't think they can sustain that. So while I don't expect to see President Biden get charged ultimately, I don't see how you give him a walk and prosecute Trump, especially when one of the big issues in the 2024 campaign is going to be that half the country's on fire over the fact that we have a two-tiered justice system where the quality of justice that you get seems to depend on what your political affiliation is.
Well, the two tiers, and you wrote about this earlier in the week, the two tiers are really not, as it stands right now, right or left or conservative or liberal or Republican or Democrat. It's really high up and then everybody below. And there was the Washington Post article that was published in December that you noted in your column. And there is a man, Harold Martin, he's a former government contractor. Now, he did take home a huge number of hard and digital copies of classified materials. It was like 5 million pages. He never shared them with anyone. And this is in the Washington Post. And he is currently serving a 9-year prison term. And the man who prosecuted him was Robert Hur, the U.S. attorney who is now the special counsel. And and the quote, though, from Robert Hur, Andy, is just astonishing. He said, "This sentence, one of the longest ever imposed in this type of case, should serve as a warning that we will find and prosecute government employees and contractors who flagrantly violate their duty to protect classified materials." And he said that, that was back in 2019. Well, now it applies, I suppose, to Joe Biden.
Yeah, well, this is the big problem that they have, Dagan. And what's remarkable to me is when they're going after these lesser government officials who have security clearances, but they're not the famous people in government, right? When they're talking about those people, what they hype is everybody's obligation who has a security clearance to safeguard the information in a way that's consistent with the regulations. When it gets to somebody like Biden or Clinton or even Trump, what their apologists come out and say is, well, look, it's not like they were trying to sell us out to the Chinese. They didn't really have any intention to harm the United States. When Clinton had her scandal, what people like Obama and officials in the Obama administration, and even James Comey, when he, famously gave that statement where he, first laid out the offense, but then ultimately said that she shouldn't be prosecuted. What they all say is, look, there was no intent here to harm the government. And the fact of the matter is the statute doesn't require an intent to harm the government. It requires that you take care of this information that you have privileged access to in a responsible way, and that if you're grossly negligent with it, that's a felony.
Andy, one more thing before we go. Just because of when I say Hillary Clinton got off scot-free, it was after that speech by Jim Comey that you were talking about. That's when she was interviewed by the FBI. It was after that, right? And she was allowed to have a potential co-conspirator with her during the interview as her attorney.
Dagan, I think the timeline is Comey gives the speech a day or two after Mrs. Clinton's interview, but the speech is written essentially months before the decision is formally made to give her a pass. So the fix was in on this for months before they ultimately closed the investigation. And yes, they brought Mrs. Clinton in at the very end, which you wouldn't ordinarily do for a perfunctory interview. And she was allowed to have her accomplices sit in on the interview as her lawyers, which really flouts every guideline the FBI has. You never interview two witnesses to the same event in the same place. You always separate those out so that you can, get an assessment of whether you're getting a straight story or not. So they violated all their protocols in connection with her. And I think that matters when you're assessing these other cases, because precedent matters when you're enforcing the law.
And pardon my language, but the turd on top of that sundae was that she played stupid about what classified markings looked like, correct?
Yeah, she said that she didn't know what C meant in classified parlance. And we're talking about somebody who was a consumer of classified information for a very long time. I think she was on the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, if I'm remembering correctly, but she had been a senator for a long time. And there were a lot of classified information issues during the Clinton days as well. So, it's not like she didn't know what classified information was and what the designations meant. But, that was her story and she was sticking with it. And the Justice Department, the Obama-Biden Justice Department, and the FBI gave her a pass.
It's the reverse of the Joy Behar thing of like, you're going to jail, you're going to jail, you're going to jail. It's like you're getting off and you're getting off and you're getting off and you're getting off. Andy,
Yep.
have a great weekend. It's going to
You
be
too, Dagan.
a busy few months for you, my friend. I have a feeling. Andy McCarthy, a pleasure, sir, always.